My name is Hannah, and today I'm going to be reading y'all the first chapter of my book. It's actually crazy that I wrote a book and that it's finally like coming to life and I'm getting to share with people. This is the complete edited version. I finished editing a few weeks ago and still editing like the later chapters, but this one a few weeks ago. But I'm really proud of this first chapter. So let's get started. Chapter 1, The Calm Before the Storm. The light shined through the window, covering the room with a golden glow. As morning crept in, the sunlight angled directly into my eyes. I squinted, pulling the blankets tighter, but it didn't help. I forced myself to sit up, my head pounding and my stomach churning. It had been like this all week, a spiral of nausea and exhaustion. I've been throwing up constantly, unable to keep anything down. It was spring break. I should have been swimming with my friends or staying at Grandpa's, not stuck on the couch feeling like this. I tried to distract myself, glancing around the room. The golden light had shifted, now shining through the glass of the coffee table, scattering faint rays across the back door. The trash can at my feet had been my closest companion all week, in my lap more times than I could count. Socks and a scrunchie were scattered on the floor, remnants of the energy I no longer had. The pounding in my head grew unbearable. I couldn't take Advil. What was the point? It would just come back up. My hands shook uncontrollably, and my chest tightened with anxiety that wouldn't go away. I stared at my trembling fingers, willing them to stop, but they didn't listen. I opened my phone, scrolling through messages from friends, ignoring the questions they sent. I didn't have the energy to reply. Closing it again, I noticed the old Gatorade bottle on the coffee table. Reaching for it, I tried to avoid getting off the couch, but my hand was just out of reach. Defeated, I sank back into the cushion, staring at the bottle like it held answers. Eventually, I forced myself to sit up, the effort making me queasy. I stretched again, finally grabbing the bottle, and took slow, careful sips. Each one felt like a battle against my own body. My phone buzzed, breaking the silence. Glancing at the screen, I saw the time, 9:28. My doctor's appointment was at 10:30. I debated taking a shower. I wanted to, but deep down I knew I wouldn't. Pulling myself off the couch felt impossible, like lifting a weight far too heavy for me. But something inside me pushed me forward, a force I didn't understand. I grabbed the arm of the couch for balance, the green fabric shifting under my grip. I stumbled towards the coffee table, then the bookshelf, and finally the stairs. Looking up, I felt the room spin. The stairs loomed ahead of me, just 12 steps, but it might as well have been a mountain. I grabbed the handrail, using it to pull myself forward. My legs felt like they weighed 100 pounds each, even though I barely weighed that much myself, and I had lost 5 pounds just that week. Step by step, I dragged myself to the top. My room was the only thing upstairs, but it felt like miles away. Reaching the doorway, I leaned against the wall, catching my breath. Everything hurt. I never did get that shower. I knew I wouldn't, even as I stared longingly at the bathroom door. Instead, I changed into clean clothes and waited on the couch for my mom. The world spun as we made our way to the small clinic I'd been going to since 2nd grade. The waiting room looked the same as always, stiff chairs, faded posters on the walls, but it felt different, quieter, more distant. Mom walked to the front desk to check me in. I sank into the chair, grabbing an old magazine with a torn cover. The pages felt thin and grimy between my fingers. I could see Mom talking to the lady at the front desk. I could hear what they were saying. Something about how there was a new virus going around called COVID-19. I've heard about it from a boy at school, but nothing like she was saying. She could have came in contact with the virus at school. Do you know if she's been around anyone sick? The lady asked as she pushed up her brown glasses. She had a sleepover a few days ago, but the girl wasn't coughing or anything out of the blue. Mom said, sounding slightly worried as she tried to think of anyone else. Well, since she's having respiratory issues, it's been recommended from the CDC that we have patients wear a mask. The lady turned in her chair and grabbed 2 masks and handed it to my mom. Okay, I'll have her wear it, Mom said with a sigh. She finished the check-in with the lady. I could hear the click of the receptionist's nails on the keyboard. I wonder if they were red. She always had them painted red. After she asked Mom some more questions, she walked back to where I was sitting, holding out a little blue mask. They want us to wear these since you're having that nasty cough and a stuffy nose, she said softly as she sat down, the blue pleather dipping as she relaxed into the old chair. I found confused. But why? I don't see anyone else wearing it. Like I said, since you're having all these things to do with respiratory, they think you could have COVID. Oh, is all I managed to get out. I didn't know what to say. It was still all so foreign to me. All I had heard about COVID was from that one boy at school that I worked with during a school project, and all it was a joke. Mom handed me the mask and I put it on, the harsh metal nose piece pressing into my skin. It was too big, slipping down my face as I flipped through the magazine. The air smelt like rubbing alcohol, cheap perfume, and cigarettes. The woman beside me talked loudly on the phone about the dog she just adopted, while a small child cried in the corner, his mother bouncing him on her lap. I sighed and leaned against Mom's shoulder, letting the scent of her perfume, a gift from Dad 2 Christmases ago, calm me. My head felt heavy, like it might tip over entirely if I didn't have her to lean on. I stared at nothing, my mind wandering. Mom's voice pulled me back. Hannah, come on, she said, standing. I blinked at her. She must have heard my name. I hadn't. The exam room felt colder than the waiting room, with the same overly bright fluorescent lights. I sat on the uncomfortable table, the paper crinkling under me. A nurse came in, cheerful but hurried, wrapping a blood pressure cuff around my arm. She asked questions, but my mom answered them. I didn't have the energy. My body ached from the inside out. Every word felt like dragging a weight uphill. She had been throwing up what looks like blood, Mom said, her voice trembling just enough that I noticed. She's been having nosebleeds for the past year, and she's always tired. She's had headaches, nausea, fever, and anxiety, I muttered, barely above a whisper. The nurse nodded, jotting everything down before leaving the room. I leaned back against the wall, closing my eyes for a moment. I heard Mom exhale sharply. When I opened my eyes, she was staring at the door, like she was bracing herself for what the doctor might say. After what felt like forever, the door opened and the doctor walked in. She glanced at me briefly, then turned her attention to Mom. Tell me more about what's been going on, she said, her voice calm but distant, like I was just another case on her list. Mom started talking, her words pouring out fast but steady. I couldn't process them. I took a deep breath, trying to keep myself anchored in the moment, but everything felt like it was slipping away. The doctor was explaining something to Mom, her voice low and clinical, but I couldn't make out her words. They might as well have been speaking underwater. My body felt heavy, almost detached, like I was watching someone else sitting on that exam table, their head drooping as the doctor leaned in to examine them. I could feel her cold hands on my forehead, hear her asking questions. Any fever, any chest pain? But it felt distant, like it wasn't meant for me. Suddenly, everything snapped back into focus. Her hands were pressing on my chest, and I flinched slightly at the sharpness of the moment. My breath caught in my vision tunnel for a second before I blinked it away. Well, the doctor said, standing back and crossing her arms. It's probably just allergies or a small cold. I looked at her confused. Allergies? That didn't make any sense. My mind raced as she kept talking, her words blurring together. Something about seasonal changes, pollen counts. None of it fit what I was feeling. Are you sure? Mom's voice cut through the fog. She's been coughing up blood, and she's exhausted all the time. I understand. But we're trying to avoid any unnecessary ER visits. Just keep an eye on her, she said with a stern tone, almost annoyed. I glanced at Mom, her face tight with concern. I tried to take a deep breath, but it felt like my chest was filling with sand. My body surged with anxiety, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might break through my ribs. What if it's not allergies? I wanted to ask, but the words stuck in my throat. The doctor kept talking, her voice muffled again, like I was drifting in and out of consciousness. I grabbed the edge of the table trying to ground myself, but everything felt wrong. Then suddenly, her words hit me like a slap. If she becomes unresponsive, take her to the ER immediately. Unresponsive. The word echoed through my head, sharp and final. My breath quickened and I looked over at Mom. Her eyes met mine. I could see the worry she was trying to hide. I wanted to ask her what we were supposed to do now, but I couldn't find my voice. The doctor typed something on her laptop, handed my mom the laminated checkout card before walking out. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving us alone in the silence. So that's my first chapter. I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I enjoy it. I love the first chapter specifically. It's what I always read to people, but it's the one that I really feel like, you know, when you're sick when you're young, your guardians are like overly worried and everything. And in this case, I'd been sick for a very long time, and we didn't know what was going on. So we went to our clinic and and everything in my book is true, and none of it is going to be exaggerated because it's all from my point of view. So it might be a little I don't want to say it's exaggerated because I really downplay a lot of what happened, not in the book but in real life. But this is a story. It's my story, and I really just am proud of myself for putting something so personal out there in the world, because you guys are basically reading my diary if it was a story, if that makes sense. But I loved writing this first book, and I'm gonna have some more books coming out in the future. I don't know when that is, but I am just proud of myself and my family and everyone who's supported me through this journey, and sat around and listened to it and given me ideas. And I'm just excited for y'all to hear my book. Anyway, have a great day. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and like and comment if you enjoyed this video. Anyway, bye.